Ask me if I read anything that you recommended to me.
Did you read anything?
No. Did you read anything I recommended to you?
You know, as a matter of fact, I did.
What did you read?
I read Batman the Long Halloween.
What a coincidence. I also read Batman the Long Halloween.
Welcome back to the bookcase. We do not have an intro. Today we are talking about Batman the Long Halloween.
Batman the Long Halloween was published in... I didn't prepare anything.
Why didn't you prepare it? I wrote notes. I wrote a Carmine Falcone family tree.
Written by Jeff Loeb and arted by Tim Sale, Gregory Wright, lettered by Richard Starkings and Comicraft.
1996.
That's the one.
It was written in 1996.
But yeah, Batman the Long Halloween is a sort of sequel to the older Batman Year One. Odds are more likely if you're a Batman person and you've only read a few Batman comics, it's more likely that you have read Batman Year One than it is that you have read Long Halloween. Partially because, look at these. Like, this looks shorter. I say looks shorter because this...
Frank Miller puts a lot of words on his panels.
Yeah, Frank Miller likes the sound of his own pen. But Long Halloween is kind of a weird sequel to Batman Year One that is very different from Batman Year One, but I think it is in a good way. So that said, do you recommend Batman the Long Halloween?
I think that without getting into spoilers, I tentatively do. I think it is a good entry point into determining what types of Batman you might like to read. I was not expecting this when I read it. It actually kind of hits all of the like heavy hitters of the Batman Rogues Gallery. It also has a few like lesser known ones that don't like leave the realm of the comics very much. That I found interesting to show up. I don't think it's going to be for everyone. I don't think it's even going to be for every modern Batman fan. But I think it is a good, like, litmus test. Does that make sense? It is a good litmus test for what types of Batman you think you will enjoy, and then you can use what you did and didn't like about it to search out other Batman writers.
The reason I recommended this story for you to read is not because I think it's the best Batman story even. It's because I think it is the most Batman story.
I would say that's a good assessment of it.
Batman the Long Halloween encapsulates all of the things that you expect to find in a good Batman story.
Yes.
Like, all of the things. And there are other Batman stories that do some of those individual things better, but I don't think any Batman story yet has been as all-encompassing.
Which is sometimes to its detriment. There are times when I think that this has bitten off more than it can chew.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you rated this. I gave this a 4 out of 5 on Storygraph. I think it's good. I think it has some problems that hold it back from being great, but I think it's really solid in some areas.
I think 4 out of 5 is a good assessment. Batman the Long Halloween is a fun read.
Yeah.
Is it like I think it's quintessential Batman because of its tone, because of the way it's just sort of visually and tonally evocative.
Yes.
Of everything you expect to see in Batman.
And that includes, like, it's gritty, it's noir, it is a mystery. Like, we haven't really gotten into a spoiler-free plot summary, but it is fundamentally a murder mystery. But it is also goofy as all get out.
Oh, yeah.
It is hilarious. Like, there are some really hilarious moments, and there are heartbreaking moments, or moments that were intended to be heartbreaking. How strong they hit. Well, your mileage may vary, but it's got the tragedy, it's got the noir, it's got the grit, it's got the humor. Like you said, it has a little bit of everything that makes a good Batman, although sometimes an individual Batman might be better if it focuses on only one of them. This is in the Skyrim school of a mile wide and an inch deep.
Right. I think that, like, this is the story I thought of when we were watching the Pattinson movie.
Yes, and I wrote that down. The influence that this comic has on the Batman was just blatantly all across the page. I know we rewatched that movie not that long ago. I want to watch it again now having read this, because there is so much about this that has bled into the Batman. And that's the other thing. If you like the Batman, the Pattinson Batman movie, you will probably like this, but you will think that the Batman did this better. Because it did.
Yes. To go ahead and give a quick summary, Batman the Long Halloween is about again, it's a sequel to Batman Year One, which is the story of Batman's first year in Gotham. The Long Halloween is sort of a Year Two kind of thing. Like, not literally Year Two, I think it's a little after that. Mm-hmm. But basically, a murder takes place on Halloween night. The victim is a major member of the mafia, of the mob, the Falcone family. At first, it's just a one-off. But then other people with mob connections get killed on Thanksgiving. And then more on Christmas. And more on New Year's.
And then Valentine's Day. And every month on a holiday, there is a murder that is connected to the mob activity in Gotham. And Batman, Jim Gordon, and Harvey Dent are our three main characters, and they are trying to solve this mystery.
And the reason, for the record, that they all think these murders are connected is because they're all committed the same way. With a .22 caliber handgun.
With the serial number filed
off. And the impossibly silenced baby bottle nipple. Which does not work, by the way.
Don't try and silence a pistol shot with a baby bottle nipple. It will not work. And also, the killer leaves a calling card. The killer leaves a cheap holiday-related item from, like, the dollar store at every crime scene. They left a little pumpkin at the first murder, and a cornucopia at the second, and a little Christmas tree at the third, and a glass of champagne at the fourth, and etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, Long Halloween is a long Halloween. It's a year of murders happening every holiday, and for the astute of you might think, oh, murders committed on holidays, that's Calendar Man.
No.
Calendar Man exists, but he is in Arkham.
And they go visit him multiple times.
Hannibal Lecter style.
Which, again, they cut this scene from the Batman, but they originally, in the Batman, were going to have a similar scene where Batman goes and talks to
the Joker,
who eventually would become the Joker. The same way that he, in this, goes and talks to Calendar Man and is like, hey, there's a serial killer. This is his MO. Similar to your MO as a serial killer. I want your input. And both the Joker in that deleted scene and Calendar Man in this are wildly unhelpful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they keep going back to visit him. Calendar Man tells them nothing of value at all.
I think narratively the reason they do is so that the author can tell us straight up that it's not Calendar Man.
I guess that's fair.
Because they call them the Holiday Killer. And that's the whole thing. It's Batman, Jim Gordon, and Harvey Dent trying to catch the Holiday Killer. And there's twists and turns, and Gotham villains keep popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the whole point of this story...
Which is what I like best about it.
I told you this when I was recommending it. Long Halloween is kind of the story of Gotham getting weirder.
It is the birth of not the Rogues Gallery, because all of them existed before this. Joker existed before this. Scarecrow existed before this. It's the transition. But yet it's the transition from the Falcone family and Maroni family and the Mafia in general being Gotham's main problem into them still being a problem, but these freaks in costumes now, this is what has come to define Gotham.
The age of the mobster has ended.
The age of the mobster has ended, and it is now the age of Batman and of clowns and of freaks in costumes, and it does a lot with that thematically that I really, really like. And then it does one thing with that thematically that I really hate, and we'll talk about that. Is it time to talk about spoilers?
I think at this point we can get into spoilers.
So if you would like to read this for yourself, we do recommend it for those reasons that we discussed. It's a short read. I read this on Libby. It is on Libby if you are fine with reading comics as ebooks.
It's a 12-issue comic.
It's a 12-issue comic, one issue for every month of the year. I read it in 2 hours. Like, it's not a very long time commitment. So yeah, definitely go for it.
It reads quickly. Like, we're talking like effective visual usage, not like the walls of text.
Yes, this
that
is not...
you might get used to if you're like me and read late stage Hunter x Hunter
or Frank Miller. It is not a very wordy comic. It is a very visual comic. So let's talk spoilers, and I want to talk about one spoiler first, and then a different spoiler. Okay. So,
what spoiler do you want to talk about?
So, spoiler first. Who is the holiday killer? There's this character named Alberto Falcone. He is the Roman Falcone's son. The Roman does not want his son involved in the family business. He keeps pushing him aside. He keeps ignoring his attempts to contribute. He wants his son to have a normal life. His daughter is in the family business. She's very intimidating. I can see why Alberto feels very emasculated by his father's attempts to keep him out of the family business. Alberto, theoretically, is the fourth victim. First victim, Halloween. Second victim, Thanksgiving. Third victim, Christmas. Alberto is the New Year's victim.
Yes.
Except he's not. Alberto faked his own death, because Alberto is the holiday killer. Alberto is the one who is killing these people, and Alberto is basically showing his father, you were wrong to oust me from the family business. And then throughout the whole story, like, the mobsters themselves, they start working with the other rogues. They pay Poison Ivy to influence Bruce Wayne to let Wayne Enterprises take the dirty Falcone money. They
bust Scarecrow out.
They bust Scarecrow out of prison. They track down the Riddler and ask him who he thinks the holiday killer is. They start to work more and more with these rogues as the killings get worse and worse, and Alberto wants to be one of them. He's like, you did not let me be a mobster, so now I'm becoming one of the freaks in a costume.
Alberto
I want to be a rogue.
He kind of says the theme, like, up front, where he basically, because, like, his dad is, like, trying to get him out of this and basically say, okay, you just admit to the last killing that you did in front of the cops, but, like, my people can get you out of here, son. You can... And Alberto just straight up goes, I don't want to get out of this. Have you seen like, you're old news now, old man. Mm-hmm. Gotham's a freaks town now, and I'm one of the freaks.
Yes.
You're yesterday's news.
And that is capped off by the fact that this is also serving as the Two-Face origin story. Harvey Dent in, I don't remember which chapter it is, which holiday it coincides with, but the incident in court where Harvey Dent gets acid thrown on his face and then he snaps is in this story, and we see the birth of Two-Face. And at the very, very end, Two-Face has broken out of the hospital, and Alberto killed all those other people, but Two-Face kills the Roman.
Two-Face getting out of the hospital is hilarious, by the way.
Then he goes, Mrs. Dent, I'm so sorry, your husband, he's gone. Oh no, he's dead! No, he's gone. He, like, left. It's like, what? You were in surgery. What are you talking about? But Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face, and Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face is, like, this final cap on the freaks are in charge now. This is the town of freaks. I have done what needed to be done because the old way was not working, and now this is the new way. And so Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face and Alberto revealing himself to be the holiday killer is a really nice, like, 1-2 punch thematically with the whole Gotham is changing, Gotham is evolving, whether it's because of Batman or not. This is now a land of capes and masks and superhero gimmicks.
Okay, I see what it is. So this is the one I have trouble remembering because it's not an actual holiday. It's Falcone's birthday.
Ah, well, a Roman holiday is also like a Roman holiday is a term, so they use the Roman's birthday as that holiday.
Yes.
So I really like the twist. It in some ways it's a little weak that the killer was one of the victims, so you never would have guessed it. But like Agatha Christie's done that, so
And
it's fine. It works.
They have
it can
some
be
interesting
a good twist.
red herrings leading up to it as well.
Yes,
Like,
honestly, the construction of the mystery up to the reveal is done very well. It uses the visuals of the comic to make these interesting parallels between multiple different suspects. Is it Harvey Dent? Is it Selena Kyle? Is it one of the mobsters? There's all these different like clues and questions.
one of my favorite plot lines that I like wish got a little bit more time was Harvey Dent going after Bruce Wayne, thinking that maybe it was Bruce, because like
He doesn't think that Bruce is the killer, but he thinks that Bruce is funding the Falcones because of what Thomas Wayne did when he saved the Roman's life.
right. But all of this
Which is
stuff,
also in the Batman.
because here's the thing. Bruce Wayne, you could also like make a case he might be the killer. Look at him. His parents got gunned down by criminals in the dead of the night.
Oh yes. Bruce Wayne, very good suspect.
But like I could see a world where that would make sense, and that's kind of like one of the things that like I kind of wished Harvey would not just go after Bruce because I think Bruce is bankrolling the Falcones, even though like literally like he's been fighting them like at the bank to try to stop them from laundering their money there until he didn't, because Poison Ivy did things.
I don't love that chapter, honestly.
That
green.
chapter is probably the weakest
It's
one.
weird, and it's over so fast that I'm like, what was the point? Other than to have a panel where Selena Kyle rips Bruce Wayne's clothes off and says, in another context, I might have enjoyed this. Okay.
Selena Kyle, quick side note. If this is ostensibly the same Selena Kyle as Batman Year One, pull up an image of Selena Kyle from Batman Year One, and then pull up an image of Selena Kyle in Batman The Long Halloween.
She grew her hair out.
She grew her... This was the 90s, and she looks more like she's from the 80s than she ever did in the 80s.
She's got that 80s grunge going on.
All that said, there's a lot of neat things leading into this. You have the April Fool's Day chapter, where
That's
the
great.
Falcones bring in the Riddler.
I love that that's the only month that no one dies. If you don't count the fact that Alberto did not die on New Year's Eve. Because it's April Fool's. They don't kill the Riddler. They just make it look like they were going to.
They shot up a hole around the Riddler in the wall. And yeah, like that's such a fun chapter.
Yeah.
And you also get a little bit of like, I was telling you this, there's like a little bit of foreshadowing there, I think I saw. Because another two things that really set it up well, I think. One, Alberto Falcone, his body isn't identifiable traditionally. Because the coroner says that it got eaten up by gulls.
It's water, and it was waterlogged.
And it
too.
was
It
waterlogged.
was a river body.
So it wasn't recognizable.
And then the next victim.
And then, I don't think it's the very next victim.
But one of the next victims.
One of the next victims is that coroner.
One of the only people not connected to the mob in this whole mess.
So that's a good indicator that something weird is going on here with that particular death. Because the coroner's only connection to this is doing the autopsy for Alberto, which we learn was faked, and he was paid off by Alberto.
Yes.
And then Alberto killed him to
ensure that the
ensure
secret
that
would
was kept secret.
never come out.
But then some other information comes up and things get real weird real fast.
Here's the thing. That when Harvey kills the Roman and then Gordon and Batman bring him in, he says something. He says, by the way, you know there were 2 holiday killers, right? And Gordon is like, what do you think he meant by that? And Batman says, well, I don't know, Two-Face is like obsessed with the number 2, and if you think about it, he killed Carmine
Falcone.
Shut up. He killed Carmine Falcone on Halloween. In the end, Two-Face, Harvey Dent, was also the holiday.
And then he puts on sunglasses and the CSI Miami theme song kicks in.
And then we have a stinger 3-page edition where, oops, it was Harvey's wife the whole time.
Oops.
I don't like it.
This twist is nonsense.
I
the
don't
more you
like
think
it.
about it.
It's bad. Jeff, what are you doing?
So
What? No.
This twist, if you take it at face value, is nonsense. Because here's what you've got going on here. You've got Harvey's wife, Gilda Dent. Because here's the whole thing with Harvey and Gilda throughout this story.
I liked their relationship throughout the story. It was well done.
They are struggling. And in particular, it's taking a toll on Gilda because she wants to set down roots. She wants to start a family.
She wants to have a baby.
She sees Jim Gordon and Barbara, his wife, and their new baby boy. And she's like, I want that with Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
And
your work is getting in the way.
Like this whole thing with the mob has consumed Harvey's life.
Yes.
This one-man war in the DA's office against the mob. And in this reveal, they say Gilda was the one who did the first few killings, but then the killings picked up later. But this is nonsense.
It's utter nonsense. Here's the thing. If we take what Gilda says in the scene where she's burning the hat and the trench coat in her basement, if we take it at full face value, according to Gilda Dent, she did the first few killings, presumably because in her mind, she wanted to have more time with Harvey. And she was like, you said when you had less work to do, we could try for a baby. And I think if I kill the mobsters that you're trying to put away legally, then you'll have less work to do so we can have a baby.
I just realized the people who blew up Harvey and Gilda's house were Irish.
There's a lot going on in this.
maybe take that one into consideration.
Here's the thing, though. Gilda then, after the New Year's Eve killing, Alberto's killing, she sees Harvey come home with wet hair. Harvey says it's because of the snow. But then she's like, but Harvey, you were wearing a hat. Your hair wouldn't have gotten wet. And now we actually, when we first see this, that is supposed to be one of the clues that makes us think, what if it's Harvey the whole time? Which I never bought that it was Harvey, because Harvey being the killer before he turns into Two-Face is the obvious answer. And when you're a mystery writer, the obvious answer is never the right answer. So it foreshadows maybe it's Harvey very, very well, but I knew that would be a twist.
Especially because it shows Harvey down on his workbench.
Yes, and honestly, again, that's done so well.
Yes.
It honestly sets up Harvey as the killer better than it does Alberto. It does set up Alberto fine, though. It doesn't set up Gilda at all, which is part of the problem. Other than the fact when they say, well, a 22 is a small gun, it could have been a woman. But that's more to set up, maybe it's Selena.
Maybe it's Selena or Carla Viti.
Yeah, or Carla Viti. They don't want, you're not supposed to think Gilda is a suspect, which is what makes it a good twist. That doesn't make it a good twist.
And here's what I told you about it afterward. Because here's the thing about it that doesn't make sense.
Because she thinks, oh, Harvey killed Alberto Falcone. He knows what I'm doing. And he has taken up the mantle. And he will continue this. I believe in Harvey Dent. So great. So she stops killing and lets Harvey do the rest of the killings. This is stupid for many reasons. Reason number 1. Alberto did not die.
Yes.
Regardless of who killed who when, Alberto did not die on New Year's Eve. And so her logic that Harvey killed Alberto is nonsense. And by that point, she should have realized, oh, well, my logic was very flawed because Alberto's still alive.
So here's where I think the big issue is. And it's not a character issue, it's a logistics issue.
This is all logistics.
So the second killing is the small group of hoodlums, a few of which are Irish, who blew up Harvey Dent's house.
On Halloween.
They do that, and then on Thanksgiving, they are the next victims.
They are gunned down in a restaurant.
They are gunned down in a restaurant on Thanksgiving. And
guess who was in the hospital during that?
Gilda Dent. was in the hospital at that time. You don't, unless you're Harvey Dent, they don't just lose patients.
Maybe the Gotham City Hospital just sucks.
But here was my take on it, because this is my reading of it, which is not a defense of the work, because the fact that I had to do this is in fact a flaw.
This is the problem. This twist makes you bend over backwards and come up with this super, super convoluted series of events that make one of the victims was the killer the whole time seem like the most basic twist on the planet. Alberto being a dead man who then isn't a dead man and did all the killings actually is small potatoes compared to the gymnastics that we have to do to justify
So
this.
here's my read on it. The first victim,
Johnny Vitti.
Johnny Vitti, who is Falcone's nephew. And I think that is the only killing that Gilda Dent did. And I think Gilda Dent, because for one, you look at the way that Gilda Dent is drawn, it's kind of like the way they made up Shelley Duvall in The Shining. Like, I don't think Gilda Dent is intended to look all put together. I don't believe that the author just forgot that Gilda Dent was in the hospital on Thanksgiving.
I don't know. I kind of do. Because
Well, here's my thing. It's got a whole panel dedicated to it, and I'm just, because don't forget, I come from the world of JoJo. We have a whole meme about the author just forgetting things and reality inexplicably shifting itself because the author forgot that one of the characters was a man or a woman.
Honestly, I think that's exactly what happened, though. I think that Jeff Loeb forgot that there's literally no way that Gilda could have done the second murder, or really the third murder either, and just thought it would be a cool, edgy twist.
I think, here's what I think happened. I think Gilda did the first murder, and that was the only one that she did. And then later that day, because she did the murder on a Halloween.
Mm-hmm. And then their house blew up.
And she was in the hospital, like, probably, like, delirious.
And also, literally, like, she was in a wheelchair when she got out of the hospital.
She was in a wheelchair.
And she jumped out of the wheelchair, and Harvey is like, the doctors say you're really not supposed to do that yet. So I don't buy her being able-bodied enough to do the Thanksgiving killing.
I think she was in some way, shape, or form, like, deluding herself into thinking that she did the second killing. I think Harvey did do the second killing. Not to, like, continue the holiday thing, but specifically because
revenge on his
because, like, this was on Thanksgiving when they got out. Like,
yes, because they cut the mob boys loose. Although they don't cut him loose, but they go out on bail.
Harvey says, I say we let him out and then spread the word on the street that they cut us a deal and see what the Roman does. Because Harvey's just like, we do that, the Roman will just have them all killed. And
Gordon is like, that's incredibly immoral. Absolutely not.
Gordon literally says, you file charges or I'll find someone in the DA who will. They get out pretty much immediately. And I think Harvey was the one who killed them. Because they are the reason his wife is currently in the hospital. They came after him in his own home. They blew up his house, injured his wife, and Harvey is like in a real hammer of God mood here. Mm-hmm. He is really angry about it. So I think Harvey did this killing, which was a couple of guys, but I think Harvey did Thanksgiving, but it was the only one he did because I think after that was where Alberto got the idea to become the holiday killer.
Alberto sees that and he's like,
I'm going to steal that gimmick.
I'm going to steal that gimmick for myself. So you think he did the Christmas killing, then faked his own death on New Year's, and did all the killings after that.
Exactly.
Up until, of course, Harvey kills the Roman, which we know that Harvey did. There is zero question about that. It is on page.
That's my interpretation, which is to say this is not textual.
And it also, that the fact that you have to do so many backflips to justify how Gilda could be the killer while also Alberto is the killer, while also also Harvey is the killer, maybe. That I think that is a fine way to justify what the text gives us. I do still think that maybe Jeff Loeb just thought it would be really freaking cool if Gilda was the bad guy the whole time, actually, and then wrote that as the twist without thinking about it very much. I don't know, I've read a lot of thrillers where the twist is just, it makes no sense in hindsight.
That plot beat of Gilda being in the hospital is distinct enough that it's hard for me to believe that Jeff Loeb forgot. I believe it if he did, because again, I come from the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure school of Araki forgot. But I think what happened here is they tried to do like an ambiguous ending, and it was not done properly.
It was ambiguous in a bad way.
They tried to do ambiguous.
They tried to be...
came out unclear. Again, I love Long Halloween, just like as a Batman story.
Yeah.
But the ending is very messy.
And honestly, this is where it really, really comes down. I don't like that Gilda is the killer for structural reasons. I don't like that Gilda is the killer because I think it's a bad twist that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't like Gilda as the killer because of how you have to do backflips to justify the logistics of how that happened when she was in the hospital that one time. But ultimately, I don't like that Gilda is the killer because it completely ignores the whole Gotham is moving from a city of the mob to a city of freaks, and this is the rise of the freaks, and Alberto comes from the one world and is showing that transition into the other world through his actions, first as a mobster, but then as a rogue. And then also Harvey's transition from good Apollo boy Harvey Dent into scarred and tortured Two-Face. It just throws all of that thematic cohesion out the window for the sake of shock value.
I think if I were going to make this a little bit cleaner, and this is not like me saying if I were going to validate my theory, if I were going to make this a bit cleaner, I would get rid of the Gilda being a killer thing, and I would have some kind of flashback to Harvey doing the Thanksgiving killing.
I like the idea of Harvey doing the Thanksgiving killing a lot. That adds a lot of like spice to his arc. And I think, honestly, if the twist was, it wasn't all Alberto, some of it was Harvey the whole time, I do think that is still thematically cohesive. It's just the Gilda stuff that like is weird.
Like, I like the idea of Gilda doing the first one, but like Gilda basically saying, "It was me, Steve. It was me the whole time." It's nonsense.
Gilda is assuming in her ending monologue that Harvey did all of the murders after Christmas, which I just don't think is true. I think she maybe thinks that he did, but I don't think he did. I think Alberto had to have done at least some of them. And honestly, part of this is because all these people are crazy and not written in a, like, respectful or understanding way of actual delusions and psychoses, just of their comic book characters who have lost their minds. But, like, none of these people quite have a strong enough grasp on reality a grasp. None of them have a strong enough grasp on reality to definitively say at this point who killed who when. And again, this is where we get into, this is now ambiguous in a bad way instead of ambiguous in a cool way. But I think that Alberto, I can buy Alberto taking credit for murders that he didn't do. I do still think he did, like, at least 3. He had to have done at least 3 of them, because some of them were so personal to his particular damage. Like, the first killing is very personal to Gilda, both as a way to try and get these people out of her husband's way, and also because you told me Johnny Vitti is the guy who kidnaps Gordon's kid in year one. And, like, Gilda is pretty close friends with Barbara, so she probably has a little bit of
an axe
residual trauma based on that whole situation. And then, of course, the second killing is very personal to Harvey. The third killing, who dies on Christmas again? It's the bodyguard.
Yes.
which is a convenient way to get him out of the way before you start going after real Falcone family members.
Yes.
So I totally buy Alberto doing that to set himself up.
I think one of the biggest...
Alberto definitely killed the coroner. If nothing else, he totally killed the coroner.
1000%. I think the big thing to remember is that the reason this all detracts from it, the reason the whole "it was Gilda all along" thing kind of hurts the twist in the long run, is because it already bookended so well with the last killing of the spree
on Halloween.
On 1 year since it began.
Harvey literally says, "The long Halloween is over. I killed it. It's done."
Because on that last Halloween, Harvey, he does 2 murders, I believe. One is the basically his helper in the DA who passed the acid to Sal Maroni.
Yeah.
Before Sal Maroni then threw the acid in Harvey's face during the cross-examination, which is how he got scarred. Mm-hmm. And the other one he murdered was Carmine Falcone, who was the big shot who we've spent the whole story trying to get at. And that kind of bookends it. Harvey, now Two-Face, busts all these villains out of Arkham based on coin flip, which is hysterical because he doesn't let Calendar Man out, and Calendar Man's just like, "Aw." But he takes them all.
He busts out, and these are all the rogues who are in this story. He busts out the Joker, the Scarecrow, the Mad Hatter, which is one of the... We don't see a lot of Mad Hatter in modern Batman stuff, so it was cool to see him. The Riddler is one of the people he busts out. He busts out Poison Ivy. Selina was not there, but she shows up to the party. And also, who was not in Arkham, but shows up to the party, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday.
Solomon Grundy, who Batman gave Thanksgiving dinner
Grundy.
to.
Solomon Grundy deserved better. I thought Solomon Grundy was maybe just Killer Croc's like Christian given name. No, there are 2 weirdos who are like linebackers with skin problems who live in Gotham's sewers. I'm sorry, why are there 2 of them? This was news to me. I had never heard of Solomon Grundy born on a Monday before, and now this man is in my head.
It's a very supportive environment for linebackers with skin conditions.
Basically, he has all of these rogues, and they're all like sitting on the desk, on Carmine Falcone's desk, and they're like, "Look at us, we're the future of Gotham, baby."
So, final thoughts.
I still like this comic. All that we just talked about, though, is why I gave it a 4 and not a 5, because goodness, it's a mess.
I give it a 4 out of 5 because I don't like the Joker's teeth in this comic.
He's fun, though.
He is fun.
He is so much fun. I said this was funny, and he's 80% of how funny it is. The other 20% is how Batman keeps leaving conversations when nobody is looking, and then they're just like, "Oh yeah, he does that."
Also, when Jim and Harvey show up to question Bruce Wayne, Alfred's sass game is just...
Alfred, I love Alfred in this. Alfred in this. This has one of my favorite Alfred panels when Bruce is like angsting over the fact that Thomas Wayne saved Carmine Falcone's life, and he's like, "Imagine how things would have been different if that hadn't happened." And Alfred is like, "You can't think about that. That's just gonna lead you down a bad path." And Bruce is like, "Yeah, it does make you wonder, though." Bruce does not hear him say this because Bruce left the room, but Alfred just says alone to the empty room, "It does. Just as I wonder that if I had been a better father to you, maybe your life would be a little happier now." And I was just like, "Oh,
but yeah,
Alfred and Bruce are my favorite part of any Batman thing ever. I love
my
Alfred.
final thoughts are kind of this version of Harvey Dent is sort of the reason that I wish we could get like an Elseworlds story where like Harvey Dent doesn't like become murderous crazy after he gets scarred. Like, I desperately want Two-Face Attorney at Law. I feel like that is a story that has like, that's got some legs.
Yeah.
It's got 2 very distinct looking legs.
One of them is purple. And one of them is... But yeah, I liked this. This was my first foray into Batman. I will probably read year 1 now. I will probably like it better because I think it will be more thematically consistent.
You know, I'm going to be interested to see what you think. Maybe just like film like a TikTok or a short after that, because Frank Miller is an acquired taste.
We'll just have to see. But I did enjoy it. It's got some problems, and they are very fun problems to talk about, but I don't think they detract from my enjoyment of the reading experience.
But yeah, basically, if you like perfect comic books, this isn't perfect. But if you like Batman, this is very Batman.
It is very Batman.
This is the most Batman, in my opinion.
That's really all that we have to say about Batman the Long Halloween.
Join us next time, where I still have failed to read one of Taylor's recommendations.
You've had Legendborn sitting on your nightstand for like a week and a half, and you have not opened it.
I know. I took a week to play Lies of P, and I have to read again.
You must. All right. Well, if you enjoyed that, if you would like to support what we do here, there are YouTube buttons that you can click down there. They do YouTube things. My name is Taylor.
I'm Steven.
And this has been The Bookcases. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What was my hair doing? It started to fall out of that. We've lost the plot.
On the hair?
On the hair. The hair has lost the plot. Just like Jeff Loeb lost the plot. He lost it.